Okay, Clay here, and I'm going to walk you through basically how to play Hoplite, and starting with the Tanagra scenario. So the very first step is the initiative step, and here both overall commanders have the same initiative rating. So both of them have a 2 for an initiative rating. So basically we're just going to roll two 10-sided dice, and the green dice will be for Sparta. The red dice will be for Sparta. Sparta got a 9. So Spartans, basically they get to choose an activation marker here to start the game. And they're going to choose their momentum. We're going to go ahead and choose the momentum marker first. There's a special rule in the Tanagra scenario where they get to roll a dice, and if they can get a 6 through 9, they gain control of the cavalry. And they got a 9, so they've gained control of the cavalry right from the start of the game, so that is great. What they're going to do with that cavalry is they're going to activate the 2 cavalry units, and we're going to take this guy and kind of move him to one side. He's got 8 movement points, so he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we have another cavalry unit over here. He's going to just kind of go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just kind of be waiting there to try to flank the Athenians in the future. So what we're going to do next is these activation markers are going to go in a cup, and we're going to draw one. And that's going to determine who goes next here. And so I'm just going to draw one out. And next is the Spartan Hoplites. Alright. Alright, so we drew the Spartan Hoplite activation marker, so they're going to go. And they've already gained control of the cavalry, so they're ready to just go, advance towards the enemy. In this game, now the very first time a Hoplite phalanx unit moves towards the enemy, you roll a dice on a chart to determine if they're going to walk, trot, or run. So 7 plus they get to run, and if you get a 2 through 6 they're going to trot. And so I'm going to go down the line here. We'll roll for a few of them and see what they do. Now you'll notice this one has that little triangle on it. That's an actual Spartan Hoplite phalanx, so you actually don't need to roll for them. They automatically trot. That's kind of one of the special abilities of them. And we're going to start rolling for the rest of them here. So they got a 5, so that's going to be a trot. And the next one rolls a 9, so they are going to advance at a run. So I'm going to go down the line and roll, and then I'm going to actually move these guys, and I'll show you what the board looks like after that. Alright, so here's the Spartan line. So they've started to advance towards the enemy there. Not in a perfect line formation. By game design, some of them are trotting, some of them are running. You might even have some of them walking. Now, the ones that are running have to make what's called a troop quality check. So what we have to do, this unit here, Corinthian, is running. This troop quality is 7, so we have to roll the dice, and if we get a higher than a 7, if we get an 8 or a 9, they take 1 cohesion hit. And they're safe with a 2. And we have one other one here. We have another one that's running, and he rolled a 4. So both of them are safe, no cohesion hits for running, but they've made a nice initial advance towards the enemy. And the next thing we're going to do is draw the next activation marker out of our cup here, and we'll see who gets to activate next. And it looks like it's the Athenian momentum. Alright, so what the Athenians get to do with that momentum activation marker is they get to try to activate. We have to roll a dice, and if we can get a 0, 1, or 2, equal to or lower than the initiative rating, then they get to choose an activation. And they rolled a 6, so they failed that, so no momentum for the Athenians. And the last activation marker is going to be the Athenian Hoplite activation marker. So now they have a tactical choice they need to make. Do they want to advance towards the enemy, or do they want to wait for the advancing Spartans to come to them? And I think in this case, let's see, they're about 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes away, so they'd have to make those die rolls, and anyone who was trotting would slam into the first 2 Spartan units that are running. And if they were running, they would make it to the enemy. So, you know, if they were all running, maybe a couple of them, yeah, it's probably worth it. So the Athenians are going to go ahead and activate. And I'm going to roll the dice to see if they walk, trot, or run. And I will show you the board after they move. All right, so the Athenians decided to go ahead and advance. And we've got a couple interesting situations here. On the left flank here, this unit on the end is running. And what they are going to do, they're going to go ahead and move 2 hexes, 1, 2. Now the moment they come within 2 hexes of this cavalry unit, which is controlled by the Spartans, the cavalry unit has to decide if it's going to make an orderly withdrawal. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if this Athenian unit is going to try to attack the cavalry or if it's going to go over there. So that's going to be the choice that the Spartans are going to have to make. Now, if they do make an orderly withdrawal, they're going to take a cohesion hit because they're being approached from their flank hex. And they might even have to make a troop, or they would have to make a troop quality check at the end of the withdrawal as well. So the Spartan player decides, I'm going to stand and not withdraw. And so what the Athenian is going to, has got 3 more movement points left, and it's going to go 1, 2. Notice it conveniently stays out of the front hex of the cavalry. And its last movement point, it's going to slam into the Spartans. And we'll leave the run marker there. Almost the whole rest of the line is trotting, so they're going to move forward. We have just another interesting situation on this side. As on the right flank, they are running. And the Athenians, way on the right here, the place of honor, are not going to be able to make it to the Spartans, even though they're running. What they're going to do is they're going to pivot. And as they do so, they take 1 cohesion hit for pivoting, and that's 1 movement point. And 2, 3, 4, 5 is their movement, and they're even going to take 1 cohesion hit for doing that pivot. So we'll put that on there. And this one is going to have 5 movement points for running. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, and slam into the ranks of the Corinthians. All right, so I'll do the rest of the movement, then I'll show you where we're at. All right, now one other thing I wanted to mention about movement is if I was supposed to put a moved marker. Whenever you move a hoplite, a heavy infantry, or a medium infantry, you're supposed to put a moved marker on it. And if you move a second time in the same turn, you take 1 cohesion hit for moving twice in the same turn. So that makes some interesting tactical choices there. And just didn't come up in this game. If you get your activation marker, and then if you make your momentum roll, you might be moving twice in the same turn. But okay, so what we have here is the Athenians on the left flank here have smashed into the Spartans, and so I've got a shock no check marker on there. 2 more of the Athenians smashed into this Spartan hoplite that was running, and so they have a shock no check markers on them. And then we have some that were part of the line hasn't contacted each other yet. And then kind of towards the right flank here, we also have an Athenian that's going to take on that pretty strong Corinthian unit there. And the place of honor on the right with the Athenian leader has not made it into the battle yet, but they're looking to do something in the next turn. So we have 4 units with a shock no check marker. So the turn that you move adjacent to the enemy, you must do shock combat, and you don't have to do a troop quality check when you moved into their adjacent hex. So we're going to go ahead and start some combat here.